Welcome to Oh Hell No with Nicole.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Today we have Sain Jr. He is an author, an inspirational speaker, and an athlete activist. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for being here.
Nicole, thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to speak with you today. I have a lot of questions for you.
Sounds good. Let's get it going.
All right, so tell us a little bit about Chris as a high school student. What were your hopes and dreams?
So as a high school student, I had my eyes set on going to the college level, playing Division I football, and then letting my college experience lead me to a career at the professional football level. However, that was not the case. High school was a tremendous experience for me. It was a great time of my life. I did graduate high school and go on to Michigan State, but that's kind of where it all began to unravel.
You wrote a memoir, right? And when I saw this, it's called Dumb Athlete, How My Biggest Fear Became My Biggest Motivator. And I thought, wow, you look young. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but you look young. So what led you to write this memoir?
So a couple things. In my neighborhood, it was stricken with poverty, with violence, with hopelessness. And so on one end, I said, man, if I make it out this environment, if I live to see 17, I'll one day write a book about it. What made it more real, Nicole, is that I had a best friend, who was my next door neighbor, he got killed on Martin Luther King Day back in the day. And his death really kind of put things in perspective for me. And so between the death of my friend, the hopelessness in the community, and my aspiration as an athlete, writing a book was something that I always wanted to do. When I would go into bookstores, I would, in Barnes and Nobles, look around and say, man, one day I would really like to come in a bookstore and see my book on one of these shelves. And so all those things were the kind of things I grabbed a hold of to keep my hope alive, seeing so much desolation around me as a kid.
Mm-hmm. So what happened with the football career? Like what happened when you got to college?
So when I got to college, and a couple things to add to that, the title Dumb Athlete was and is, the actual book is How My Biggest Fear Became My Biggest Motivator. But Nicole, that was my whole driving force. I was gifted. A lot of people you talk to say they play sports, love sports, but there's some of us that just cut above the rest. And I was one of those type of kids. And I say that humbly, because I've been humbled a lot over my life. And my biggest fear, though, Nicole, was that I didn't want to be this kid that was this awesome athlete that was known for doing a great job on the field or on the court, but wasn't getting it done in the classroom. And so the dumb athlete, I didn't want to be associated with that. And so that became my biggest fear. And so I went just as hard in the classroom as I did on the court. I went just as hard in the classroom as I did on the field. And I ended up doing okay academically. But transitioned to college, I landed at Michigan State, and I didn't do too hot on the ACT at the time. And because although I had a 3.3 cumulative GPA, that not doing well on the ACT forced me to forego a full ride scholarship athletically to become a preferred walk-on. And that really changed the trajectory of how my athletic career went, because as I stated in my book, when you are a scholarship athlete, they roll the red carpet out for you. But when you are a walk-on, you get treated like a third-class citizen. Oh. And that's what a lot of ESPN don't show, the struggle or the grind that the walk-on athlete goes through. And so when I got to Michigan State, I had to work twice as hard to get the opportunities over some players that I was just flat out better than. But not taking any away from anybody else, I didn't get it done at the high school ACT level to justify me earning my full ride scholarship. And so there, my athletic time was different just off that alone. Then I had suffered a shoulder injury in my senior year of high school that lingered into my college career that kept reoccurring over and over again. And in sports, we have this saying, a player's best ability is availability. You can't do anything if you're always in the training room, getting iced up, not on the practice field, showing what you got. And so between things like that, Nicole, it kind of derailed my athletic journey and made me really take a step back and refocus my life.
Wow. So, what is the message in your book that you want people who are picking up this book and reading it to be?
Man, the book is so inspirational. This book is so motivational, but the book is so real and raw. And the message that I want to take away, there's several messages. For one, you have to outlive the expectations that society will place on you. That's one expectation that I want people to take away. The world told me, the media told me every day as a young black man, when I turned the TV on, that black men that look like me, that come from where I come from, will be dead or in jail by 25. I always told myself that I'm a product of my expectations and not my environment, and that I wouldn't be dead or in jail by 25. And in fact, I had a master's degree by the time I was 24. And I did a lot of things that I did just to prove the stereotypes and the negative conceptions that the media perpetuates about black and brown people. I did a lot of things to prove that system wrong. And I want people to know, man, it's possible. I don't care where you're from in life. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what your circumstances are. I've spent 20 years in prison visiting my brother. And I don't care what the situation is. If you believe that you can make something of yourself, you truly can. And so those are the type of takeaways that I want readers to walk away with when they read Dumb Athlete.
Great. I love that. So, what do you do as an athlete activist?
Man, so the great thing about being an athlete is that it gives you a platform, and it gives you a platform that people listen to what you have to say when you choose to use it. That's why I like what LeBron James is doing in particular in the NBA, speaking out against social ills and social justice is going on. But for myself as an activist, I'm the vice president of the NAACP here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I am on the front line of a lot of just community efforts around social justice, community and police relationships. And as an athlete, we bring a different viewpoint to the situation. See, in sports, we have a brotherhood and a bond like no other. And if the world was ran like you see the camaraderie in the dugout or the clubhouse or the locker room of sports teams, you have a diverse group of people showing that they can live in harmony, get along with each other, respect your gender, respect your sexual orientation. But in the real world, it's a lot different. And so as an athlete activist, I bring that perspective to the table that this is possible. We seen it work. You come together from all different walks of life when you form a team and you play ball together. And if we can do it around a game of football, we know we can do it around a game of life.
Yeah, that's good. That really makes sense. I mean, that's a really good way to look at it. I like it. Do you talk to athletes about things like, finances and just personal conduct and things like that? Like, do you ever mentor any athletes that have a real chance of probably becoming professional?
Absolutely. I not only help up and coming athletes, but current college athletes understand how to balance their social life, their academic life, and their newfound superstardom.
Yeah.
And balancing not only your finances, but your relationships, your commitments, living a healthy lifestyle, meaning don't be a public success and a private failure. Don't be the guy that we love and admire on TV, but behind closed doors, you're a closet alcoholic or something like that. And so athletes today in particular, but I mentor regular people that's non-athletes in this same capacity, but athletes specifically today have so much things they're facing, especially with social media, Nicole, that didn't exist just 15, 20 years ago. And so helping them navigate and balance all of those things are vital to helping them reach their full potential.
Yeah, I agree. Just by reading the paper, looking at the news, and seeing all the stuff that goes on, I always say, man, these young men, they need someone, they need guidance, they need help, they really do, because in some instances it's just crazy the stuff that goes on. So
One of my mentees he's a boxer. So
mhm.
I have professional athletes, I have professional boxers, and one boxer is a former world champion. His name is Kid Chocolate, or Peter Quillen, and he's one of the top boxers in the world. And he reached out, and so just to go to your point about just guys and athletes in particular needing that extra guidance, Kid Chocolate talked about how he wanted to begin preparing for the last part of his career and make a successful transition from boxing to his regular life. And I thought that was big of him to be thinking along those lines. He's only early 30s. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So he still has a huge upside left, one of the top boxers in the sport, but he's already thinking about life after boxing. And so that's as an athlete, my own situation started a little early because of the lack of success I was having. But no matter who you are, when you're playing sports, there's only a small window of opportunity. And so it's best to start thinking about the things you're passionate about beyond sports that you want to do with your life.
Yeah, that's critical. And that's a great segue into my next question, which is, how did you end up becoming an inspirational speaker?
Wow, that is a great question. So I'll be the first to tell you that growing up, I probably didn't speak more than 10 words, and that's including elementary school. I didn't speak more than 10 words in middle school and probably not high school. So I was a quiet person by nature. I'm not shy, but I'm definitely a quiet person. I'm not one that needs the attention, that has to always be heard. But what happened was, when I got my degree at such a young age, and coming from the environment in which I came, one of my high school teachers, she had a rowdy classroom, and she was like, Chris, I think my students would really benefit from you just coming back and sharing your story. And so, Nicole, I accepted her offer at the time. And this is before I was a paid speaker. This was before any of what I do today in a speaking capacity. But I went to her classroom to talk to her students, and she happened to take a picture, just being a proud former teacher. My student, I'm so proud I played a role in his life. She was more operating from that space.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody I had in all my classes. I'm so proud of Chris. She was on that tip. And so when she had me come back, she took a picture. This is back when Facebook was first kind of popping, and she posted the picture online. And from that picture, the classroom that's next door to her classroom said, hey, Chris, the students haven't stopped talking about how well of a job you did. Would you be willing to come to my class and talk to my students? My class is right next door to the class that you went to. So I said, yeah. And mind you, Nicole, I don't know nothing about getting paid to speak during this time. I don't know anything about the speaking business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just doing this all off the heart, all off of just wanting the students to hear my message. And so, yeah, I went and spoke to her class, and she took a picture as well, the same way the other teacher did. She posted it online. And so in the world of social media, it gave the illusion that I was this speaker. And so one thing about when you're free, and this is why you have to transition to a business at some point, when you do things for free, your phone never stops ringing. And so they spread you thin because the demand is through the roof.
Right.
Everybody and their mom will call you when they know you can get a top level speaker for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the phone never stopped ringing for 2 years straight. And so I had to put the brakes on all the free stuff.
Right.
And I started charging $50. And again, not knowing anything about the speaking business, I like, yeah, I'll come speak for $50 and some chicken wings. I'll be there. Yeah, I'll come speak for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's how I started off. And I would capture I saw the power of pictures back then. And so that's why I would capture all my speaking engagements. And then I just ran into a guy that kind of told me a little bit more about the business side of speaking and how you can really get paid good money for talks and things like that. And so I just kind of took it serious from that point. And it all blew up when I did my first 10 city tour. And it just kind of took off from there, Nicole.
Isn't that crazy when you sit down and you think back to how that all came together? Doesn't it just like fascinate you? Like, how that part of your life just came together on its own just by a chance invitation. Like, hey, I just want you to do me this favor. It's not even something that you do, and you just did it,
Hmm.
and it manifested into this whole career.
Yep.
It's
And
like,
that's really a testament to how God works.
yes,
Um,
yes, that is
I,
what
that,
I'm saying.
that was my real takeaway. I said, wow. I said, God, I was a lost kid because I had everything in me wrapped up into being an athlete, going pro, and playing sports. And so when that happened, I said, this is nobody but God.
Mm-hmm.
Then, Nicole, when people start paying, now mind you, I'm not even a household name now, but when people were paying household dollars
Yeah.
for what you would consider a no name individual,
Mm-hmm.
that really let me know that was God. And so for me, the Bible talks about God will give you the desires of your heart. There's 32 teams in the NFL. My tour ended up taking me to 32 cities. He
Wow.
has a way of making everything come full circle. And so I saw through speaking that, yeah, my local city, local high school was calling me to come talk to our local students, but the message I had was universal, and all students across the U.S. needed to hear what I had to say. And that's what really sparked the whole go on tour, make sure other young people are hearing this message. And it just kind of took off.
When you're doing these speaking engagements and you're talking to these young people, what is the most important thing that you want them to take away from the message? Just like if you had to say one thing, if they get nothing else.
The number one takeaway when I'm talking to young people, I want them to know is really two things: that it's possible, meaning whatever it is that they are wanting to do, thinking about, that it's possible, and that, like I alluded to earlier, because I go to a lot of places where hardships are just present. And so, again, I like to reiterate for young people, you're a product of your expectation, not your environment. So expect greatness out of yourself. Expect to make it out the hood. Expect to make it out of high school. Expect to graduate from college. Expect to get married. Expect to be faithful. Expect to be a productive citizen in society. And so that's the kind of message I make sure that that's the takeaway if you get nothing else from a Chris Sain talk.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, who in your life has inspired you the most and how?
Man, I have a lot of inspirations. Number one and number two would be my mom and dad collectively and individually. Have been some of the people I've drawn my most inspiration from. My dad, just being a young black boy with a father present, was inspiration for me. And then on the flip side, having a mom that was so loving and nurturing, she put that compassionate side in me. And so I'm very objective in my thinking. I'm very sympathetic with people. I'm very compassionate towards people. Um, but I'm very driven and I'm very ambitious, and I overcome everything that's put in front of me, and that's part comes from my dad. And so those two will be the most influential, impactful people for me.
What a nice balance. That's nice. I love that. What in your past has prepared you for where you are in your life today?
Failure, Nicole. I failed so many times. I know that failure is a part of the journey. You can't succeed if you're afraid to fail. And the things I have went through, the losses I have taken, every setback was a setup for an awesome comeback. And so I don't get down on the failures. I don't, a matter of fact, I don't complain about the journey. I embrace it. Um, I look forward to the failures almost because I know it's a chance for me to grow and get better.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at, failures because you can't stay stuck. You gotta,
Hmm.
you gotta move on. All right. So online, you leave a lot of positive messages, right? For both men and women.
Hmm.
Why do you feel it is important to put these types of messages out there, and what has moved you to do so?
Couple things. The media perpetuates, again, these negative stereotypes of black and brown people. And I see social media in particular as my own news platform. That's my own CNN. It's my own Fox News. It's my own Huffington Post. That's how I view Instagram. That's how I view Facebook, for instance. And so I have the autonomy to put out positive messages or otherwise messages that you and me wouldn't see of young black men in society. Again, if you're not looking like, and I'm not ragging on like Lil Wayne or nobody, but if you're not looking like that, they're not showing you images of other successful black men specifically, that can show kids outside of going down this path, you can also be successful going down this path. And so when it comes to online, because my marriage matters to me, relationships matters to me, and being positive matters to me, those are the kind of messages I like to go towards. We have so few positive influences in the world. They exist, but sometimes they're outshined by the negative messages that's out there, that I'm trying to fight through the noise to make sure we have a voice on some level.
Yes, and I love your post, by the way. They're great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we're gonna shift gears because Chris, you guys, there are a lot of layers to him. So let's talk about your other book, right? I don't know if it's out yet or
It is out.
so you also wrote a book called Finding Real Love in the Love and Hip Hop Era, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Hey,
So
it's already hit the top 100 on Amazon, so I'm excited about
nice.
that.
Congratulations. So tell us about the book and what the inspiration behind it was.
So the book is about the Nicoles and Chris's of the world. We live in a world today where instant gratification in relationships is what's going. We got people quitting on friendships, quitting on marriages, quitting on relationships today. And I wanted to touch on what it's like to be young, wanting love, but living in a world where it seems like love is elusive for people, for the good people, for the people that want to be in relationships. And so Love and Hip Hop, man, talks about everything you can imagine, but does so in such a way that's inspiring, informative, and uplifting. What I wanted to do, Stevie J and Jocelyn can't be the example of what we emulate as a relationship. And so I wanted to talk to millennials as well as the 45 through 55-year-old crowd about how you achieve love in today's society with the heavy presence of social media. How do you achieve love when you also have to overcome the thirst traps? How do you achieve love when you might be in a relationship, but you look on social media and you somebody's man crush Monday? How? I'm with my wife and I'm always her crush.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And so I had to talk about those things at a level and in a way that could just enlighten, but open your eyes, but do it that's in an entertaining fashion as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I go online and I see this side chick, like this is like the new norm or something. Like it's great,
Right,
and it's
right,
just I'm like, what? Because I'm also married, so I'm not down with that. I'm like, wait a minute now, what is going on here? So,
right.
I'm just going to read a couple of your posts that I took down that I liked. So, one you put up, single
Okay.
people will never desire to get married if they keep seeing married people acting single, whether in real life or online. Love that. Another
Absolutely.
one, it takes a strong person to remain single in a world that is accustomed to settling with anything just to say they have something. Another good one. And don't claim someone that isn't claiming you. There are a lot of people in a relationship with someone that's single. These are all gems.
Yeah.
So, why do you think people have so much trouble with relationships?
Man, because the weekend, the new song out now that said you can have them 9 to 5 through the weekday, just give them to me on a weekend. That is a really mindset that this generation has adopted. That the lack of boundaries, the lack of respect. But I'm not going to even go there. I'm going to take a step back and like the first post you read, being in a relationship or being married but looking single online. We we have abandoned the covenant agreement that we are in for the married people. And when we are in boyfriend girlfriend relationships, instead of working things out, first sign of turmoil, we're headed out the door. No longer willing to communicate effectively, no longer willing to compromise, no longer willing to set aside ego. And as a result, Nicole, you have a rebellious generation that jumps from relationship to relationship, or being single and turned up all the time, or whatever it is. And so you factor all those things in, man, and that's how you have this conundrum where love continues to elude people.
Yeah, definitely. My God, this is so good. I love this. What kind of impact do you think social media has had on relationships overall? Because it's been crazy.
It has been crazy. Because I talk about relationships a lot, my DM and Facebook inbox is filled with messages around relationships, specifically about a guy started off calling them when they first met. Now that she gave it up, he no longer is doing the things he was doing to get her. I think social media has had a huge impact, both good and bad, depending on what lens you're looking at it through. But starting with the bad, the screenshot has ruined players across the land. The ability for women to screenshot cheating men, the ability to screenshot somebody in the DMs trying to get on and shoot their shot. That has ruined a relationship. That has caused, as Drake say, trust issues in relationships. And I always say when the trust is gone, the relationship is pretty much over. It's very, very hard to get trust back. That's why if you have it, do whatever you can to maintain it.
Yes.
On the positive side, though, you have individuals like I'll say Devon Franklin and Megan Good that's putting out a good image of a committed monogamous relationship. You have Will Smith and Jada. I think they just hit 20 years of marriage. Have those kind of images. You have LeBron James and his wife. You have D Wade and Gabrielle Union. You have a few examples to look at. You have individuals that's more regular, like myself and my wife. I tried to make sure that those that's following me see regular people walking this thing out in marriage the right way. And so those are some of the more positive images of relationships in the world of social media.
Yeah, I love that. And you are so good because you just said you always like segue me into my next question without even knowing it. So I was going to ask you, as a married man, how would you say your life changed from being single? And it's a two-part question. So let me ask you that part first. As a married man, how would you say that your life changed from being single? Like, what is like the main things that you would say changed for you now that you're married?
Man, yeah, marriage has been the best thing that has happened to me. I'll be completely honest. For one, I was able to find my helpmate. I was able to find my rib in my wife, and having a person that you can for real spend your life with, that you enjoy being around, that you can build with, you can grow with. That has been tremendous for me. You have to be mindful that I was a guy that before marriage, I didn't see marriage in my cards. A guy that consistently entertained multiple women. And so coming from the life I truly lived prior to marriage, marriage has settled me down. Marriage has brought favor over my life. Marriage has put a new perspective in me, but it has also opened doors that I often say I otherwise wouldn't have access to. Sometimes if God can't trust you, he can't use you. And marriage for me allowed me to be able to be a speaker touring around the country. Had I not been married, the women that I meet at the hotel or at the airport, those would have in my past been hookups on the spot. But I already know now in marriage, if I do any of that kind of thing on the road, it's over for Chris. It won't be no more speaking nowhere because God already revealed to me he needs me to do right by my wife when I'm on the road for everything I say and post to be credible.
Right.
So that's what it has meant to me in my marriage.
That's amazing. What are 3 things that you maintain as a rule when on social media as a married man?
Number one is I by nature have what I call a slick mouthpiece, meaning my natural dialect is to say, "What's up, beautiful?" And early in my marriage, my wife pointed out to me how some insecure women could take that and get the wrong message from it. And so I had to make sure and be mindful that I watched my speech. I was mindful and intentional about how I conducted myself, even to all the women that inbox me and DM me every day. I'm okay with letting my inbox be seen because I know I'm not in there calling nobody sexy or whatever, talking regular, and I'm not giving or passing off any sexual innuendos in my speech pattern. And so that was one of the number one things that I changed and make sure I operate accordingly when I'm on social media.
So, what is the most difficult part of being married, in your opinion?
There has not been any difficulties thus far. I've been married for 6, 7 years now, and it has been a blessing more than anything. If anything has been difficult, it's getting over soul ties, past relationships, spirits that you encountered before marriage. You know what I'm saying? I
Really?
remember early in my marriage, I remember vividly recalling just women I was with. And like, man, these feelings are extra strong. These feelings are as if we together right now almost. And so I had to pray that up out of me. But those are called soul ties, man. The bodies you accumulate
Wow.
in your single life, they go with you in marriage. And that's what a lot of people don't talk about. You bring a lot of that baggage into your relationship. And so that was one of the most hardest things for me was getting over that. Actual marriage has been good.
So what do you mean when you say that? Do you mean like, okay, so you do you recall the sex, or is it that you recall certain things that took place in the relationship, the baggage from it? What exactly? That interests me.
Everything. So you hit it on the head. So for instance, let's say Nicole Usher had a song in '03 that was just our jam.
Mhm.
And now here it is 10 years later, you're married, but that Usher song came on the radio today when you was coming home from work.
Mhm.
In your mind, you would go back to what you were doing and who you were doing it with in that moment because that song sparked something that made you recall somebody special that you used to be with. So you might have that as an example. Taking it to the level of sex, like you mentioned, you could think of a whole episode that you might have had with an individual, and that could be triggered by anything. It could be triggered because of a song again. It could be triggered because of you just was reflecting and reminiscing in your head, and you just out of nowhere have these thoughts about a specific somebody. And
Wow.
so again, these are things people don't talk about,
Yeah,
which is
that's real. That's real.
yeah. And that's the kind of thing I try to bring when you dive into the books more or if you follow my blog or things like that, because I wish men kept it more real with me. That's why I coach a lot of men on being committed, putting the ring on it, but also talking openly and honestly about these things because nobody did to me. Men just said, marriage is hard, young blood. Marriage is hard. They never said why it was hard. And
Yeah.
for me, marriage itself hasn't been hard. My wife is a rock star. We get along great. We have very few arguments. We just compatible across the board. So we don't have any real issues in our marriage. It was more of the things like I'm telling you, the soul ties, the sexual partners, the memories of different people you were with. And it don't always have to be sexual. It just could be, man, remember me and her was chilling watching this movie, like say for instance, Love Jones
Mhm.
or Brown Sugar. You
Right.
might remember who you was with during that time. And it's just little stuff like that that you have to overcome.
Okay. Wow. Very interesting. All right, so we're going to play a little game now. This game is called the Oh Hell No game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you some scenarios. And you don't mind saying hell, do you?
No, it's good. It's
Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of different scenarios. And you got to tell me if it's a oh hell no, or if it's a, maybe you could work with that or maybe not. Right. And these are different scenarios for different people and relationship issues.
gotcha.
All right. So you have been dating for 8 years and have a child together and live together. You want to get married, but your boyfriend says he's not ready. Is that an oh hell no? Or maybe you should stick around? Or what should you do?
That's a maybe you should stick around.
Really?
Yeah, if you've been together for 8 years and you're ready to get married and a boyfriend is not, before saying, oh, hell no, you need to figure out what are some of the reasons for the hesitation to get married. And so that's where the maybe stick around comes in. That less, maybe we need marriage counseling. Maybe we've been together 8 years, but maybe we can use some counseling to get past some of these other petty issues that might hinder us in marriage.
So you know what? The only thing that irritates me about that whole thing is that I feel like people place too much I don't know, emphasis or whatever on marriage, whereas marriage is something that can be undone, right? But a child is something that's, pretty much forever. This is a human being that you
Yeah,
created.
that's true.
So when people have babies together and then say things like, girl, I would never marry him, please. I can't. That's just my baby father. I can't stand him or whatever. It's just, it
Mhm.
boggles my mind.
Yeah, that boggles my mind as well because you laid down with this person. At some point, you saw something more in that person.
Right.
Why all of a sudden is he or she not marriage material?
Exactly. So that's why I'm just kind of like, that might be a oh hell no. But I get what you're saying. Work, see what the issues are. Maybe why is he not ready? Maybe he's scared because you keep
Yeah.
arguing about something, and you guys can just resolve that issue. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So your husband wants to go on a vacation with a bunch of single people without you. Is that an oh hell no or let him go?
I'm a secure person. It would be a let him go type of deal for me.
Wow, Chris, you are surprising me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very, very big on maintaining a lifestyle, portions of your lifestyle that you had prior to being in a relationship. So if you were somebody that once a year on Memorial Day, you and your girls went out to Miami,
Mhm.
and even though we're married now,
Mhm.
you don't have to give up that ritual or that tradition. Still go do that. You need that. Those are kind of things that's healthy in marriage. Too often times we cut off the things that make us whole. We cut off the things that keep us healthy, keep us upbeat. Because in marriage, we think we got to be this uptight, all together, 24/7, can't do nothing, and that's the farthest from the truth. And so, my wife, for instance, her sisters live in Vegas. She goes to Vegas without me going enough, and I don't feel that I need to go. You know what I'm saying? And again, trust is not an issue among us. Trust is on solid ground between us. So I'm not even thinking or operating from that place. But I'm
Right.
saying go and have a good time. You know what I'm saying? Your sisters like to go out. You don't go out much when we're home, but that's your time to do so when you're there. Go have a good time. Enjoy yourself without me being present. Cause I know how to kick it and get it in with my fellas wherever we gonna go. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And so
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. I like that. I don't mind if my husband goes and has like, a boys trip or whatever. So I agree. Your wife shows no appreciation for the things you do around the house as she thinks it's your responsibility. Oh, hell no. Or she's right.
I'm gonna say, oh hell no on that one. Because it might very well be your responsibility, but I just feel like women are superheroes. And whenever a man steps up and does what he can, if you want that behavior to be repeated, affirm him in that so that he can know that you appreciate it and did it again. So that, I would say is needed because 9 times out of 10, you guys are blowing us out the water with cleaning up, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids, the whole nine.
Yeah, I agree. You just graduated from high school and you are off to college. Your high school sweetheart wants to have a long distance relationship. Oh, hell no. Or, stay together.
Oh hell no.
I
See,
agree.
Nicole, see this actually happened, and I'll just chime in real quick. I was in a long distance relationship when I first got to MSU, and my girl at the time went to Tennessee State, and I'm an upfront guy, and my girl was too, and so she was like, "These guys down here is feeling me. You far, far away, Tennessee to East Lansing. And you know the kind of woman I am. I need to be around who I'm gonna be with." And so I told her at the time, maybe for good motives or not, but I told her, I don't want to deprive you from having an ultimate college experience. And so I would rather you entertain those guys that's entertaining you, and we just agree to go our separate ways. So I didn't want her to either try to cheat, try to sneak. No, this is the best time of your life. Go ahead and enjoy it. If it's meant to be, let it go. If we come back together, it was. If it didn't, it never was. And so that's how I played that. So, oh, hell no.
Yeah, I agree. So, okay, I got three more. You are dating someone who doesn't want you to post any pics of them on social media. Oh, hell no, or respect his privacy or her privacy.
Oh, hell no. One of my number one posts that goes viral a lot is men, when they don't want their picture posted a lot, especially if they are active on social media. A lot of times the reason behind that is they don't want to offend their side chick. So yeah, that's a oh hell no. Y'all should be showing each other off. Not saying you got to be over the top with it, but every 15 posts, you can at least say something about your significant other and vice versa. It don't got to be everything. That's if you post. And if you a guy that don't, oh, my husband don't use social media at all, then I have no expectation for him to post. But if he on there talking about the game, talking about everything else, always got something to say about what's going on, can tell you everything Cardi B doing, he can post his girl.
Right.
His significant other.
Yeah.
So I oh hell no that one.
All right. So you are dating someone who only shows you affection behind closed doors. They act like they don't know you when people are around and tells you that they are super private, but you're definitely the one for them. Oh, hell no. Or again, respect his privacy.
Oh, hell no. Same thing. Yeah. You can only show love in private and not show it publicly. So again, I can go deep about why guys do that. But yeah, oh hell no to that.
And what about DMs? If anyone reaches out to you through a DM, is it an acceptable way to meet a potential suitor, or do you think it's just not the way to go?
If they are coming through the DM respectfully, yes. So, because some other times it's not another way to reach people. And so if they're saying respectfully, hey, my name is Chris, want to introduce myself. If they're coming like that, that's more appropriate than you know how wildcats can get. And if it's disrespectful, if it's damn baby girl, you fine as fuck, what's good? If they doing all that, that's too much. That's not appropriate.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about yourself, and then you're going to have to tell me an oh hell no moment that you've had in your life, and then I'm going to let you go.
Okay, sounds good.
So what do you want people to say about you when you leave a room? So you've just met them, you've had a conversation, and you walk away. What do you want the lasting memory to be about you?
I felt his presence, I felt his humility, and I felt the favor of God on his life.
Nice. And what are you the most proud of in your life today, like where you are?
I would probably say being faithful and married would be the most thing I'm proud of right now. Definitely given my past.
That's awesome. And do you feel like you're living in your purpose?
I truly do. I do. I feel like right now I'm in a really good space, spiritually, health-wise, mentally. All facets of life, I'm hitting on all cylinders right now. And I think I'm in a very, very good place in life, and I'm happy.
That's amazing. I love that. So you have to tell us your personal oh hell no moment. It could be something good. It could be something bad. But it just has to be a moment.
Let's see here. My oh hell no moment had to be, I'll just give you one. When I first blew up on social media, my post started going viral. I started getting 10,000 followers and stuff like that. And it was this lady, and she kind of planted a seed that I was online at work. Between me and you, I'm never online at work. I schedule my post. And so she kind of gave herself away one day in another meeting and said something like, yeah, people here are always on social media. They need to get offline. Kind of referring to me, but indirectly without saying my name. And so Genesis 50:20 talks about how people mean to harm you, but God intended it for good. And I continued to just blow up more and more and more in the workplace, in my spiritual life, and socially. And I never unfriended her, and she got a chance to witness it all. And so that will be one of my oh hell no moments. This little hater, you always gonna have them little people that's trying to throw shade and trying to stop what God is doing, but that's what they don't realize. It's nothing you can do about it. Nothing man can do about what God is gonna already do.
I love that. Yes. All you little haters out there trying to block our blessings. You can't do it.
Right.
So tell everyone where they can buy your books and how we can keep up with all things Chris Sain Jr.
Absolutely. Well, I would first say, as a businessman, to purchase any of my books before going to Amazon. Go to chrissain.com, ChrisSain.com, and visit my shop where I have all of my products available for purchase there. Just as an entrepreneur, it really helps support the entrepreneur when we buy from each other versus going through Amazon when they take like 75% of the proceeds. And so I would say go to chrissain.com first. But if you need it in 2 days, I can't knock Amazon because I love it too. The book is also available at Amazon.com and Barnes and Nobles and all your local bookstores. And so that's where you can get the books at.
Okay, awesome. And how can we keep up with you on social media? Tell us your Instagram.
Yep, my Instagram handle is Chris_Sain. It's Chris Sain Jr. on Facebook, and Chris_Sain on Twitter. And so I have a fan page, so please make sure you like and follow and turn on notifications. Facebook has again changed the algorithms. And so some people, my fans, been saying they don't see my post that much anymore. And so that's just something Facebook is doing. So get with me on Facebook primarily. And if you're not on Facebook, get with me on Instagram.
Thank you so much, Chris. This was so much fun. I really enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you today. And I wish you continued success on your journey. And, if you write a new book, please come back to the Oh Hell No podcast.
I sure will, Nicole. I want to thank you so much for having me. It was an awesome time chatting it up with you.
Great.